Hi, I'm Bob Jordan, author of How They Did It, Billion Dollar Insights from the Heart of America. I'm really pleased to be speaking today with Michael Alter. Michael is the CEO of Surepayroll. He's been the CEO for a number of years. He was not the founder, but he is the person that hit the home run in terms of taking Surepayroll from a small company to something much larger, and then seeing through the sale to Paychex, which just completed. I'm especially pleased to be speaking with Michael about the subject of how startups can become a whole lot bigger, how founders bring in professionals to keep on growing. Let's listen. Michael, thank you so much for being here.
Okay.
Congratulations on the sale of Surepayroll to Paychex for $115 million.
Thank you.
That's a home run in anybody's book. And for starters, if you could just tell us about the sale process.
Absolutely. So I think there's a couple pieces to that process, right? There's the actual process once you go through it, and then there's sort of the decision to go into the process. And some of that is the business is now the time, right? And is the business baked enough that it's real, that you're going to command a premium price? Are you going to be able to attract the right kind of strategic players or the right kind of next level investors or whatever it is you're going for a safe landing for that business? So first part of the process we went through was trying to understand, is now the right time? And where is the next level of this business? Where should it go? It wasn't all about, hey, we're building this business, we're going to flip it, and we're going to get some money. You know, we built a real business with 30,000 small businesses across the country that depended on us. We had 160 employees who got their livelihood from what we wanted, and you know, we wanted to manage that in a way that was the best place for Surepayroll to continue to grow. Because you know, in building a business, it's your baby.
And a track record of 10 plus years, right?
Yep. 10 years. We started the business in January of 2000. There were 3 other folks who, you know, clearly were the founders in driving it, and 2 of them continued on the board in terms of, you know, being key members in that decision process.
So were there other points along the way where you had seriously thought of selling, or was this the time where the board said, this is a good time?
Right. We controlled the process, and so we went through it. We did look at selling the business back in end of 03, beginning of 04. When I had just taken over as president of Surepayroll. And in the end, we decided we couldn't get the right value that we wanted for the business. So we continued to play on. We learned from that approach to understand where we got value and where we didn't get value, and what were some of the strategic moves we wanted to make sure that the next time we went around, we'd get a much higher valuation. We did end up using an investment bank. We're quite pleased with the folks at William Blair who we used. And one of the challenges there, again, is even though you're hiring an investment bank, you can't abdicate the process, and it still is a tremendous drain on management as you go through the process. So the bankers will do some of the work, but in the end, you still have to do a lot of the work because you know, somebody's not buying the bankers in the end, they're buying you and your business. And then there's a question of, when you start that process, who are you targeting, how are you targeting them, how are you positioning the business, what are the key issues, and really, you know, it's like any sale. What's the value to them? How do they see it? And we had to be very careful about our approach. Was very different for say a competitor, somebody who's already in our business, versus a strategic who is somebody that's thinking about getting in our business but is a well-established business, versus a third option, which might be another level of investors, and you know, basically changing out our private equity investors for a new group of private equity investors. And they all have different seats at the table. They all have different perspectives and things that they're looking for. And so it clearly isn't a one-size-fits-all approach.
So you ended up selling to what would be a competitor.
Yes, we ended up selling to Paychex. And I view it a little bit more complementary than as a competitor. I think if you talk to the folks at Paychex, one of the big things that they saw in us is how complementary we are to their business.
Because you are all online, and they, of course, started from a traditional payroll processing service point of view, dialing the phone and...
Right. I think there's clearly differences in what our product is and how it's offered, and there's also clear differences in who chooses to use our product versus who chooses to use their product. We tend to get the kind of client who wants to be a little bit more in control of the process. They're going to do payroll in their schedule, on their their time, anytime, anywhere, using the internet, and they'll call us if they have a question. So, you know, as an example, we were the first ones out with an iPhone app, so that small businesses can run payroll on their iPhone. It's been a huge success for us, the #1 new feature we've ever launched in terms of usage. It's really driven it. And making sure that we're doing that and we're on the forefront of how small business owners want to do their payroll and their back office systems is critical to us. In the Paychex model, you have a dedicated rep, and you're always calling Bob whenever you have a question, and from 9 to 5. Just a different model, different approach, and so it's a very complementary fit.
A lot of times in this kind of process, your expectations get built up. Buyers are throwing out big numbers. Everyone can be kind of cashing the paycheck in their heads before it's all over. How do you deal with that?
It's very hard to control that kind of emotion, and the last thing you want is, once you decide you're going to undertake that process, one of the big challenges and things we were always fearful of is, how do we put it back in the bottle? We were very clear with everybody that our focus is on finding the right piece for this business, the right home for this business going forward. It's not a guarantee that we're going to sell, even if we get great valuations, depending on what they say they're going to do with our employees, what are they going to do with the business. It was never a sure thing that we were going to exit.
Paychex is the buyer. What is their customer count?
They have about 450,000.
That's pretty good size.
Customers.
Yeah.
So it's significantly larger from a customer base.
And their conception of Surepayroll, where do they see it going? Your 30,000 is going to go where under them?
Our business with the new ownership will continue on exactly as we are. My management team is staying intact. I'm still running the company. We still have the core of our product that we have that we'll continue to enhance it with some of the resources that Paychex brings to bear. And our distribution channels will remain intact. So we have a direct channel and an indirect channel that we invented, we pioneered. And so our indirect channel is where we private label our service through primarily financial service companies, whether that's a private label or a white label. And we'll continue to grow that going forward.
Michael Alter, President of Surepayroll, thank you so much.
Sure, thanks for having me.